Hi there, boys and girls. Brucey here. How are you all doing out there? I hope you are doing remarkably well given the tough situation that we are currently in the world. In this video, I am continuing the topic of selling all my gear and answering a question that came up about how are you deciding what gear to get rid of? Now, that's a really important question. And the way I've gone about it is by setting myself some criteria and stipulations that the gear that I'm going to get rid of, the gear that I'm going to remove, has to meet. Now, what are those criteria, I hear you asking? Now, the first criteria is one that comes from any self-help book you hear on detoxing. And basically it is, if you've got something which has been sat in a cupboard for maybe 6 months, a year, and you are not using it, then tick, that meets that criteria. You don't really need it. Now, of course, there are always little caveats with all of this. There are certain bits of gear that, given the circumstances right now, I am not using. So it doesn't fall into that category. I know that I will be using in the future, or I know that I have used and is there for a specific job which I may not be doing right now, but I will potentially need in the future. So that stays. But if it's a pedal, it's a rack unit or something along those lines, which has just been sat there collecting dust for a long time, then tick, that meets that criteria. And that is the first to go on the list. And that brings me to the second criteria. And the second criteria is a bit harder to explain, but it is an emotive quality. It is an emotive thing to a piece of gear. And it's simply this: when I pick up this piece of gear that may be on the sell list, is how do I feel about it? If I sell this pedal, is it going to make me sad? Does it feel that it makes me sad? Does the thought of putting it in a box, boxing it up, getting it ready to go, make me feel, no, I want to keep that. I feel sad. I feel that I want to use this pedal. And that has been probably the criteria that I have used the most. It was easy to kind of go around, do a once round sweep and get rid of stuff which just wasn't being used. That was easy to do and happened relatively quickly. And then we went to the second pile, the second time room, and I was looking at things, and there's things in here that really speak to me. There's pieces of gear that really speak to me. And without putting I really love. They're just great pieces of gear, and I can't imagine being without them. And the biggest, most important point of that is when I use that piece of gear, how does it make me feel? Am I excited to use it? Am I looking forward? If I'm thinking about this plug, this pedal, which I really love, it's a great reverb pedal, and I think about the shimmer setting, and I was like, I can hear the next idea, I can hear the next piece of music coming from this gear. Whereas other bits and pieces, and I won't hold them up because I don't want anyone to think that these pieces of gear aren't good, because that is not the case. They just don't speak to me. It's easy for those to go. What I'm hoping to have at the end of this is a collection of gear, which I use all the time, which is constantly being used, and B, it's something that when I look at it, when I think about it, it goes, I really want to use that piece of gear, and I've used it before, I know it well, I love it, and music comes out of it. If music isn't coming out of these things, then I'm afraid to say they have to go. And if I don't have an emotive relationship with it, because again, you can always draw, this is not black and white necessarily, it's shades of grey, but there are other bits of gear, again, I don't necessarily want to point them out because I don't want the manufacturers to think that I don't like their gear. I do. I wouldn't have bought it otherwise, but ultimately I just don't get that little bit of excitement. I've maybe used it once or twice and gone, this isn't quite the thing that makes me want to create, makes me want to produce and create music. Don't forget that this also relates to plugins as well. I've talked about the digital detox and clearing my plugins. I've been going through my plugins list. It's almost like an iterative process. There were plugins at the beginning which were easy to get rid of because I just never used them. They came with packages, they came with freebies, which is kind of installed, gone, easy to go. Then the second time around, there were plugins that I kind of used, but it's like, well, I have 2 of these. I don't really need it. I've got something that's very similar and I prefer the other one. It goes. And then we just nail it down. And the biggest plus point of doing this is my workflow has increased. I am much more productive. And that, my friends, is the key to this. You want to be productive. You want to be writing music. If you don't, if you just want to be collecting gear, that is your thing, that is cool too. That is, you know, totally applicable, but maybe this video is not for you. This video is for you guys out there who want to be wondering why you're not maybe writing as much music, producing as much music, mixing as much music, getting as much stuff done. And it's probably because all this stuff is bearing a burden on you. So find the things that speak to you, find the things that make you want to pick them up and create a piece of art, create a piece of music. I hope you find that useful. I hope that answers the question. I've been Brucey. Take care, my friends, and I will catch you later. Stay safe.